Two.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the Board of Supervisors meeting tonight, May 11th. We're going to start out with some announcements. In accordance with Resolution 2-2012, Scott Stilson, Vincent Drive is recording tonight's meeting and posting on YouTube. And this meeting is also available and being recorded electronically on the Zoom platform. We'll move to the open forum for action items. Is there anybody attending in person that would like to make a comment that would be on anything on the current agenda?
I'm sorry, what?
If you'd like to make comments on anything that's on the agenda, now is the time to make comments on that. If not, there'll be a period later in the meeting. Anybody on Zoom want to make any comments?
The only one on Zoom is Supervisor Wilson.
No, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we move on to the department reports. Don Johnson.
Don is not here, but I have a report to give in his absence. For the most part, the ditching throughout the township is complete. There are a few small places to be completed yet. Mowing has started this week. The roads that are being mowed will have signs alerting drivers that mowing is ahead, so please be aware and give the mowing equipment operators room to do their jobs, please. There are some small spots of seal coating that will be taking place on May 17 and 18, weather permitting, of course. The roads being done are Simply, Vincent, Shoreline, Pleasant View, Walnut Road east of the borough, Welsh, and Todd Road. And that is all for Don's report.
Thank you. Next, Christy Fleischer-Eddy.
Thank you. The Honeybrook Community Partnership met yesterday. However, since I don't know how to be in two places at once, I was not there. What I can tell you is that the partnership received 32 applications for the scholarships, and two very deserving students were selected to receive $750 each. The partnership discussed increasing the amount. Last year was $500, and it had been $500 for many, many years. And the decision was made to increase it to reflect the current state of the economy, and that $500 just doesn't go as far as $750 would. So they will be awarded those monies on the 26th. So even though I know the names, I cannot disclose them yet. Please note that next Tuesday is election day, the primary day. This is considered an in-service day for the staff here at the administration building. So we will be available by phone during normal business hours, but there will be no in-person submissions due to the amount of traffic in the lobby. And lastly, the township offices will be closed on Monday, May 30 in observance of Memorial Day.
Thank you. Next report, Township Manager. Laura.
I've submitted my written report and all the pertinent information is in there, so I won't sort of the meeting further.
Thank you. Land Preservation Committee.
We don't have anyone present, but next meeting will be in August. It doesn't have any current business right now.
Next report, Planning Commission.
I
I don't see anyone here from the planning commission tonight. Just to report, we do not have any agenda items for this coming month at this time, so there is a chance that the meeting would be postponed in that event, and we go into the June meeting at that point. I know there is a plan or two that's going to be coming forward, and we'll probably have a meeting in June. Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation and Parks Board. I have it.
I have a report on cleanup day from April 29. There were 7 individuals who came to help out that day. And there were 24 bags of trash collected, 1 tire, a huge number of glass and plastic bottles and cans, and a large variety of metal items were all cleaned up from the roadsides on that day. So that's all I have to report from Park and Rec.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business. The first item is to approve the payment of all invoices as prepared by the treasurer. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
I'll make the motion to support.
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next is regarding the Honeybrook Community Library Board, appointing or not appointing the following 2 individuals to a 3-year term to end April 30th, 2025. The first is Allison Lacey, Waynebrook Drive, and Karen Gorgonzola, Shoreline Drive.
I'll make a motion to appoint.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Third item is a request for extension of review time for subdivision 2021-13 to November 23rd, 2022.
And just to give the board some background on this, this is a plan that's been in the queue for some time. They're working through some outside agency issues, particularly PennDOT, as part of their land development process, so they're merely requesting additional time in order to continue revisions to the plan and then resubmission back to the township. So this is a fairly standard request, just based on those items.
So you need a motion to extend.
To accept the extension, correct?
Okay. Motion to approve.
I think, did Mike just explain some things I didn't hear?
Yeah, Tracy, this is a land development plan that's been in the queue for some time. It's Westbrook Drive. They're looking to do some more revisions and meet with PennDOT, so they're requesting additional time for that to occur, and then they would resubmit back to the Township Planning Commission.
I'll make the motion to support the time extension.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next is a request for an extension of review time for subdivision 2022-1 to October 12th, 2022.
And this is a similar request just for a different project to work through the revisions and resubmit back to the township.
I'll make a motion to extend.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is Resolution 13-2022, approving contracts award for purchase of diesel fuel through Berks County Joint Purchasing.
Yeah, so this is a yearly purchasing co-op that we have gone into with the Brooks County School District that allows us to get a bulk pricing, and it's just a resolution that we apply every year for so that we can participate in getting the lowest price that's currently being offered for a contractual several months or a year.
I'll make the motion to support.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Honeybrook Borough DCED grant application for rehabilitation of Honeybrook Borough Park tennis courts. Would be a motion to either support or not support.
Correct, because we have a joint comprehensive plan which does cover open space. Part of the DCED grant is that any of their partners give a letter of support, so this is just us saying we support that the borough should request a grant to rehabilitate their park.
I'll make the motion to support.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is approval of the financial security releases for the following. The first being a partial release in the amount of $109,665.05 for Honeybrook Estates, 3531 Horseshoe Pike, parcel number 22-7-49.1E for site improvements. And the second is a partial release in the amount of $210,736.85 for Chestnut Ridge Stages 2 and 3, parcels 22-8-52.4 and 22-8-52.3 for site improvements. This will be a motion to approve or not approve those financial security releases.
Jason?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next would be old business. We have continuation of discussion of Brandywine and Jennersville hospital closures.
So nothing really has changed since our last update. The hospital that was going to purchase Brandywine had the opportunity, they filed an injunction, they had to post a $1 million bond, which they failed to do, so essentially they removed their legal challenge, so at this point the hospitals are closed. Chester County Commissioners, as they have stated, have some hopes to have it reopened, but there is no solid plan for it. And as I mentioned before, the other concern is the potential closure or partial closure of the VA hospital in Goatsville. We're looking to upgrade and combine several locations. They're talking about building a new facility in King of Prussia, which would offer more services, but the Coastal VA is one of the few VAs in the area that actually offer on-site housing for people going through their STEP program to get back into normal housing. So it's a concern. It's not a done deal. It's just in the initial stages.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to the open forum for any other matters anybody would like to comment on. Anybody?
Yes, Karen Custer Force, and I guess you all know what happened at the zoning meeting. I would like to know what you all now have to do. What are you guys going to do? Because now doesn't it fall back into your laps?
Well, eventually it will, but the first step will be the developer. They have to start their process first. In terms of anything that we can do on our end, we can reach out to some of the organizations like we discussed, Brandywine and Servicing, things like that. I think that's already been requested. Is that true, Warren?
So where we stand right now, and Beth might be able to speak to the process a little bit better, is they have to submit a salvo application on a permit. They have not done so. So at this point, there's nothing for the township to do because there's nothing for us to act on. But the process would be, once they would submit that, it would go for review, and then it would go in front of the planning commission for however long the planning commission determines that they need to see it. And that's several months, and that's when we'll be at public meetings, that the public can attend and present their input at the end of the hearings.
But when you think that you might want to get pre-prepared for this to happen, because they're not going to back down, you know. So when you guys want to get together and like say, okay, this comes through, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, this, you know what I mean? Kind of get a little ahead of.
And that's what the planning commission does.
So actually, it doesn't go to you first, it goes to the planning commission first.
That's correct, yeah. I mean, the planning, most times plans, certainly of this scale, will be at the planning commission for several months because they're going to submit fully engineered plans for everything that's proposed in that development. The township engineer is going to spend hours reviewing it, figuring out how they have or have not met township ordinances, and then they'll be at a planning commission meeting where the group of appointed officials on the planning commission will sit and work through all of those details, have conversations about, where there's room for adjustment within the scope of the ordinances, trying to mold it as best they can to be what is best for the township, while still allowing the developer to do what legally they are able to do pursuant to the zoning, that is in place for the property, as already existed and from the zoning hearing board. So there will be multiple meetings, and those are open to the public, they're advertised, and there's room for public comment at those meetings as well. I mean, that's where you can hear what's going on, but that's also really where the process happens, because until there's a plan submitted, there's only so much the township really can do to guide where it goes.
So that map that they had, placed up here when they were talking all that, isn't that like the map saying this is what we want to do?
I'm gonna say that's sort of, yeah, that's kind of a preliminary concept. The final plan set for this is probably gonna be 30 pages long of detailed, engineered, the storm sewer elevations, all kinds of that stuff. And I realize that's not the big picture that you're as worried about, most likely. But they're gonna have to go through that process. And, the concept is probably what it's gonna look like, although I think the wording of the decision as issued basically says they can have townhouses.
Correct, they did not.
They're also allowed to have single-family dwellings. So they may change some of the configuration from what you saw. We don't know where that's gonna go. I mean, if they were at that hearing, they heard some concerns.
Right.
So they could pivot to something a little different, but they may not. We don't know that. And so there's not a whole lot that we can do at this point until they come in with an actual formal plan submission, because that's what the township has to react to and either approve or deny, but there's a long process that goes through. And as long as they meet the ordinances, there is an obligation to approve, but there's going to be a lot that happens before they get to that place.
Okay, and even though this has not gone through yet, can land preservation step in and say, have they bought the land, or is it still like, under question if they bought the land?
Right, they're under contract to purchase that.
Okay, so the land preservation can't step in and say, whoa, we got this and this.
No, I mean, the way land preservation in this township works is it's putting easements on properties that desire them. I mean,
I'm just learning all
if the
that.
township wanted to throw more money at that property than a developer is to preserve it, I suppose that's an option, but that's probably not realistic.
It'd have to come from the property owner and has to initiate that.
And the property owner, right, would have to want that. So I think that's not a realistic thing.
But do we have a chance, I know it's the future, you can't predict the future, but do we have a chance of even possibly stopping it at this point? I mean, even though the zoning said, yes, you can do this, but if you have the EPA, the British Conservatory, you have all these other things coming in, and they say, well, you can't build here, you can't build it, is there a possibility of them being like, well, I'm not going to build here now since you threw in all this?
Yes,
There's
there's lots
Yeah.
of outside agency approvals that may come into play, that may cause difficulties for them. We don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
We have an example of one of the developments, Brook Estates. I think that started, about 2004?
Yeah.
And they're just breaking ground.
It just hurts me.
Because
I've
they
lived here all my life, and I know you heard that from me. I've seen more developments pop up, and it hurts.
I understand that.
No, I don't think you do.
Well,
I mean, it hurts.
yeah.
And I don't want to be living next to a huge development. I love the smell of cow manure. When you were at school, cool. That we knew that was springtime, you know, open those windows. You know, even Morgantown, I don't even like driving to Morgantown, it's like a mini Philadelphia. You know, Exton the same way, God forbid.
Well, it's expanding, it's coming this way. West Brandywine has several projects. West End, I spoke to several township supervisors at PSATs, and when I mentioned about development, they said, you're not the only one. It's
But
coming
we
up.
can stop it, as a force, as a
I agree with you.
community. We can stop this and say to these developers, pick a fight.
Yeah.
You know, you're not welcome here.
They're not looking out for the residents. They have the opportunity to build a development, and there's a
And
process
then
to
we deal
follow.
with the consequences of their shady development. I mean, you know, DR Wharton's, you know,
Oh,
a shady developer. Out of 1 out of 25, they're number 22. They have multiple lawsuits from different, you know, from building shoddy developments. And
Your
it's
time is
like,
up, Ann. Thank you.
please. You know, it's like, I'm not saying let's not progress, okay? I'm not saying that at all. But you know what? Let's downgrade it. You need all these homes, all these townhouses in this old, dense, compact space. That's all I'm
I
saying.
feel like concerned, so when you say I don't understand, I grew up in New Jersey, and I explained that, and the area that I grew up is wall-to-wall homes. In fact, they used to have a requirement of 80 by 100. They reduced that to 60 by 100. They're squeezing in homes in every piece of land they can possibly find. It's gridlock in the area where I grew up. You know, the streets are just, it looks like a city now. And this was a town that at one point had, you know, a few hundred people. Now it's maxed out over 10,000 people in a 1.5 square mile town. So if you can imagine Honeybrook Borough having twice the number of people, that's what
And
it's
no
like.
police, no fire, the schools are, you know, it's road.
There are many considerations, and it's not that it's being ignored, but this is the process that follows. And thank you.
Is there anybody else? Anyone else have any comments?
I'm new here. The only reason I moved here, the only reason I moved here is because I was told there was a lot of ordinances here, and then special tax that you pay to preserve land, and that they would, that Honeybrook was going to be different than Exton, which is where I came from. So now I bought a house, and here I put everything into a home, and I'm finding out that you're okay with it being like another Exton or Morgantown. That's not okay. When you're told that there's a special tax, when you buy a house to preserve land, where are the people to stand up for the homeowners that are here? Like, are they you? Is that another committee? Am I at the right place to say who's fighting to stop this DR Wharton at all? Is there anybody, or is it too late?
Well, if you look at the map up there,
Yeah.
you see a large portion of our township. That's the targeted area for land preservation. And I spent 6 years on that. I was one of the original members. So we have preserved over 40% of that land. But if you notice on the extreme right, and then also surrounding Honeybrook Borough, that's where development is. And that's where
So
the
you've already
question.
committed to saying tough with that area, where all the money, the taxes, even though you may live over here, the money that you're paying to preserve land is not where you're living, it's somewhere else. Is that right?
No, it's a question we made available to a program where the farmers, they want to keep their land in agricultural use, so they're paid for severing their development rights. That keeps in permanent agricultural use. They can pass it on to their children and grandchildren. We have we've spent somewhere in the range of $25 million already, and that the targeted area, eventually that could cost us in the range of $40 to $50 million. But half of that is coming from outside sources, so it's not all coming from your taxes. So this is quite an extensive program. And what we did, we stepped up in 2005, and then within the first 10 years, we had more easements placed than any other municipality in Chester County. And, you know, some people have heard me say before, our congressman said, you know, John, you got one of the best programs in the county. You know, you have dedicated people here that have been working on your behalf.
Right.
But we do have requirements that we have to provide housing. And that's the part that hurts because, yeah, if it's in my neighborhood and I used to be able to park wherever I want now, you're going to have to start looking for a parking space. Yes, that's what happened in New Jersey.
And we're not going to protect the wetlands that are in this particular property, so what, we'll just plow over that and like...
That's part of the...
The heck with it, right?
No, that's part of the... we'll be looking at all those requirements and stuff, but that's not my decision or this board's decision.
Right.
That's the Department of Environmental Protection. They'll be saying, you can't put that there. If you look at one of our developments right now, there's several adjustments that had to be made because DEP came in. Yeah.
And who calls them in?
I'm sorry?
Who calls the DEP in?
They will be notified. They're looking at all the developments. And I think our engineer could probably vouch for all the time he spent looking at those.
Yeah, I can kind of give you a little bit of an overview. I mean, in addition to DEP, as John said, our ordinances have environmental overlay districts that are already in place. So if you would look at online on our codes under the zoning ordinance, you'll find that there's a riparian corridor overlay, there's steep slopes, there's hydric soils, there's wetland buffers. So we already have buffers in place that developer just can't come in and disturb those areas without zoning approval. So the route that they just went through would be their route if they wanted to disturb those areas again. So, but I don't know that at this point because we don't have a plan in front of us that we've reviewed
So we
formally
might
yet.
want to be friends with the DEP.
So,
We do.
and just to finish that, I mean, in turn, when I do my review for the Township Planning Commission, I'll produce a review letter, and that review letter will have numerous comments. A development of this size, I mean, on average, I've done probably half a dozen of this scale of a review.
Uh-huh.
It takes several weeks for me to review it.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm literally talking several weeks of review time. So, in addition to the township regulations, they also have to follow the DEP with their NPDS requirements. There's PennDOT. There's all the outside agencies that get involved as well. So they don't only have to satisfy us as a township, they also have to satisfy those. So it's an arduous process that they're going to have to go through, and as we talked about before, it'll take a long time to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Could you state your first and last name for the record? I'm sorry.
Sorry about it. It's Maureen McHugh.
What was the last name?
McHugh.
McHugh?
How do you spell that for the minutes?
Do you still spell it M-C-H-U-G-H?
I do.
Oh.
Are you
Okay.
Most likely we are. I'm leaving for Ireland Saturday too to catch up with all the McHugh plans.
Okay, welcome.
Anyone else? If not, I
Yeah,
will.
I have a question.
We have someone.
Oh, we do have some, yes. Okay, that's, the rules that you're asking about for code enforcement or?
Yeah, I called the DEP about 50, 60 junk tire casings, some of them tractor trailers. They come out and they looked at it, and I haven't seen them since. This was probably 8 months ago.
I'm not sure what,
Well, I'm just asking, who's going to enforce that? Who enforces the regulations on the roads? Lines in hole, ignores the sign down there on Greasy Drive that says no trucks. And the driver said, oh, I saw the sign, I don't care. County, 8 loads yesterday, 6 maybe today. And it's been an ongoing thing. The concrete trucks come down the road, you can't pass 2 trucks at the same time on that road. And I'm not talking about Greasy, you know where I'm talking about.
is about Cooper Road?
Yes.
Yes.
They just go down there 45, 50 miles an hour. How do I know that? It's simple, you just time it.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to enforce that?
Okay. We do have a state police required for law
I
enforcement.
called several times, I called about a certain situation where somebody was coming in my property and cutting trees down,
Yes.
and they never showed up. That was January.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen it. So now, once again, who's going to enforce these rules?
Well, we do have a code enforcement. Mike represents the company that we have enforcing. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention, we don't do traffic enforcement.
Not traffic, yeah.
Yeah,
We don't do that
so,
part, yes.
So you put a sign up there, with no trucks. What are you gonna do, take it down?
I'm not sure which sign you're talking about, sir.
No trucks on Greasy Drive.
We're gonna have to move
It's
it.
clearly marked.
Yeah.
Now, police won't come out and.
We just sell our houses.
Yeah, I would submit, I mean, if you have an issue, I would submit a complaint into the township office, and if it gets referred to us, we'll take care of it. If I need to speak with the developer, I'll do so. I do know that there was a temporary agreement in place for the access of construction vehicles to serve the development.
Down Chestnut Tree, that's the truck route. Chestnut Tree, and they make a right turn, local deliveries. You can't go down Cooper and make a right.
Well, I wasn't aware of Kukla, I was talking about off Chestnut Tree Road on Greasy.
Yeah, Chestnut Tree Road is a truck route.
And again, I'm not in charge of traffic
That's
enforcement,
been
sir.
there for 40 years or so.
Like I said, offer a complaint to the township office, and it'll be distributed accordingly.
Now, I thought Honeybrook, they've been pestering the junkyard down there about the tires he had sitting around. Why am I still looking at all these junk tires?
Yeah.
Which, are you talking about the home junkyard, sir?
What's that?
Which property are you talking about?
I'm talking about next door to me.
I don't know where you live, sir.
Well, it doesn't matter, the tires are still there.
Are you talking
I
about
called
next
the
to the
EPA
house?
to get out and they didn't do anything. They told me they couldn't have the tires, but, oh well.
It's too, what you're saying is too vague for me to ask.
Yeah, I don't know how to respond.
If you want to reach out and speak with me at the administration, I can. Okay, we can talk afterwards.
Yeah, the
We
normal
can talk
route, sir,
after
is,
the meeting.
yeah, submit a complaint to the township, and chances are it's already being investigated.
Well, I've been complaining, it's been over a year now.
Oh,
The commercial vehicles parked next to me, starting at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, like I said,
How can you have,
please submit a complaint into the township office, and
I
we'll
did,
respond
what
accordingly.
happened? And I was the one that bitched about having the 4 residential places on.
If you're
that
talking
property.
about the Dunn property,
And now they have that rented again.
if you're speaking about the Dunn property, sir,
I don't know who owns it.
if you're talking about the property immediately to the south of yours,
207.
correct, that's the property immediately to the south of you. They removed their echo.
I can't-
They removed their echo. You probably saw that taken away. They discontinued the use of the one ADU, and they only have one ADU left.
Yeah, there should be one resident.
So they are in compliance now.
Well, now they're renting the garage now.
They're what?
The garage is being rented out to a young lady because she came out and screamed at me while I was walking down to my property. And she said, "What are you doing? Why are you there?" This is my property, not yours. I see cars coming in and out of there all hours of the night and day. Now we got motorcycles coming up and down the road and stopping there. There's a lot of problems going on there.
That sounds like a new issue, so a new complaint would have to be filed.
They keep telling me it's my property. Nobody seems to care.
It's not a matter of not caring. There are times when things have come up. I've gotten phone calls from residents, and I've been out there at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night responding. And in most cases, people are saying, it's not really your responsibility, but I am reaching out to residents when they need it. But, you know, I'm not designated a police officer either, so.
Well, I understand, I'm not asking you to control the property.
Yep.
But when you raise the body of the truck and bang, it'll get 2 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning.
We did have another situation, another property where some of the construction started early in the morning, and, you know, we kept after them until they finally complied. Yep.
It kind of irritates me that they ran Myers trucking out, which he was a lifelong resident down there, and they were his trucks. This guy doesn't even live there.
Yeah.
He rents that.
Yeah.
Well, as I know.
Well, we did have a law enforcement task force a few years ago. If that's something that you want to explore again, you know, just let us know.
And who was that? Was the state police was
Yeah.
there?
We received a copy of a study from Harrisburg, and I think we still have, is that still available on the website? Or was it taken down?
I don't, I'll have
Okay. Yeah. So we did have an opportunity to take a look at law enforcement, and with the understanding that what the need is, and then take it to the next level, what can we afford? Because police coverage is very expensive. For some municipalities, it could take up 2/3 of your budget.
Well,
Yes, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, but on my way here, thank God I was driving slow,
Yeah.
but there was a little boy, and I love the Amish, of course, on a horse and buggy at Cupola Road, pulled out right in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank God I was going slow, but there was a cop sitting in the middle where Turkey Hill is and saw it and didn't do anything.
Was that in the borough?
They were state.
I'm sorry?
I'm sure it's happening.
Oh, the other one. Yeah, across, yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, thank God I was going slow, where I could have killed that kid and that horse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, I love the Amish, don't, please, nobody think I, don't. I do, but, God forbid, if it was one of these crazy nuts that run down the road like they usually do on Route 22, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
But there was a cop right there.
Is that state police?
Yeah, that was the state police. He should have taken him and said, look, young man, you gotta be careful. Not everybody is gonna be cautious. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. We do have a situation where with the horse and buggies, sometimes the horses have a mind of their own. I'm at the intersection of Beaver Dam and Route 10, and there are times when
this was
they're
the
shooting
worst.
out, and I'm saying they're lucky they got across safely. But that's, when you ride horse and buggies and you're up against a car going 40, 50 miles an hour, that's not good.
Oh, they do 60, 70.
Yeah.
I mean, and as for the VA, they are starting to relocate VA residents out of the Pittsville VA. Only reason I know that is because I'm a nurse and I am in contact with people they're being relocated, which is sad, because Pittsville VA, I did my internship there. It's an awesome place. It just needs to be refurbished.
Yeah, it's in a very old facility they have there.
Yeah.
Right, if there's, yes.
Okay, I'm just curious how this process works.
Sure.
I didn't understand it when you were here before. So you call in and you have a complaint.
I called the state police. I didn't call on the 911 number. I called them on the number that's on this page here. And I detailed, I have pictures. I saw the people. I know who they are. Same thing with these trucks going up and down the road. I have pictures. I have license plate numbers. And the little guy just sit there in the driver's seat and look right at me and say, well, I don't care.
He
No
was a
trucks.
little rude. He was a little rude.
Well,
So if I call in and I have a complaint, and then it gets distributed to the appropriate person, and somebody goes out, I guess, and they inquire or look into this matter, then where does it go from there? Like, would something come back to me and say, we took care of this?
in my experience, it doesn't.
Where does it ever go?
Okay.
It's a waste of time.
Because the night before when we were here, it seemed like there was never any resolution.
We did have an update on the process, okay? And Christie or Mark?
Sure, so all complaints are in written form to the township administration. We have a form. You can print it out, you can email it, you can drop it off. It comes to my attention as the township manager. I take a look at it, and if there's merit to it, then I will assign the appropriate department to look at it. Whether it's something I investigate, I hand off to our code enforcement. If it's a law enforcement matter, I will pass it on to the state police. If it's a code issue, I will pass it on to the code issue. If it's a sewer complaint, I will call back the complaint and let them know it's the sewer department. If it's a water complaint, again, we will direct them to where it is. Again, I've only started in December, however, I've notified people of the resolution of a complaint.
Okay.
So I can't speak as to how anything has occurred before my tenure here in December of last year. I can just tell you how that policy works under my management here.
Thanks for explaining that, because I just didn't know how it, if it ever come back around.
However, I do understand that sometimes it takes a couple of years for things to resolve. We are still in the middle of resolving a complaint from 2 years ago.
Oh,
So-
you shouldn't have told me that.
Well,
I don't like years, I don't like years.
well, some of those complaints have to go through a legal process.
I understand,
Right?
I
And the
understand.
reality is that there
You
may
do
be-
updates.
Listen, so government has one shot at getting something done, a complaint or an investigation. And it's, you know, if we make a rash decision that's incorrect, well, then that matter is considered closed most of the time.
Okay, I got it, as long as you do updates. I like updates.
As long as people give us information, we get some complaints that have no contact information.
Okay, I
People
appreciate
will call
your.
up and say, there's X, Y on Z and road hang up, well, I can't call you back if I don't know who you are.
Oh, you,
People call up and they'll yell into the phone and hang up and expect me to be able to figure out where you're calling from. That's why we have a written complaint policy now, and everything goes to the township manager, which is me,
I agree.
okay?
I've got
Thank you.
How about this
That's
part?
part of yours is for all resolution.
I'm sorry, ma'am, since you did make a comment, may I have your name for the record, please?
so you don't.
Thank you.
We have a question back here.
Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
did we go to PennDOT the day that Chester County Emergency Services closed down Cupola Road to Chestnut Tree Road because there was an active shooter in Lazy Acres? When that gets presented, does that go to Chesco Emergency Services? Like, when they put that out, the traffic was rerouted down Cupola, down Greason to Chestnut Tree?
Correct, so we got notified when PennDOT does an emergency release. Now, again, it goes through PennDOT, right? So that process probably took half an hour to an hour until a release got released to the government agencies through our email service.
Okay.
I would assume, again, now, just being a police officer, if there's something critical, they can do what's called a reverse 911 call and call every single phone number that the county has on file within, you know, a quarter mile, a half mile. So again, if something very critical, the state police or any jurisdiction can request that service from our 911 center, and that just occurs automatically. You know, there is a database of phone numbers that the county has for landlines and also sometimes cell phones. But that's going to be a push from that emergency response department on site.
Okay.
Are you asking for like notification if something comes up and you reroute it?
We did get notification in our area, obviously, because I live so close, that there was an active shooter in Lazy Acres. We did find out so 4 hours later, when he was apprehended and arrested.
Okay,
But there wasn't anything on the Chesco alert.
yeah,
So that's-
right at Chesco, because I was calling I'm getting notifications from all these municipalities too, so if you want, go to Chester County, Chesco, and then you can get notifications. It may be more than you want, but, you know, that's one way. If you're driving this direction, they can give you a heads up and say there's this trouble up ahead.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't on that, it was on the Chester County Emergency Services.
Okay,
We got it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so then traffic was rerouted through
Yeah.
different developments, and we were in it was a lockdown situation, so I just didn't know if the township,
The township does not, because again, like, we get notified as
When?
everyone else does.
okay,
So when PennDOT made that notification after the state police requested the closure,
okay.
we found out,
Probably same time as residents.
yes ma'am, we don't find out any earlier.
Okay.
We don't have an in.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, just because it didn't come up on the Chesco, I didn't,
Yeah.
okay.
Question?
I have a comment on the 911 reverse call. If you don't put your cell phone number in there and don't have a landline, they will not, you aren't notified. I did find that out. So they suggest going in and registering your cell phone if you want to call back to that area. Just information I found out.
That's good.
Because I don't have a landline, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
have called anyhow.
And just one more question.
One more question. Is there any more new developments coming around that we should prepare ourselves for?
We have announced some of the developments in progress.
But I'm talking like, we know up to the.
Other potential for others?
Yeah, I would like to kind of know.
So as a township, we find out when a Staldo, a land development application comes in.
But how do I get, I mean, I didn't.
So speaking to that concern, we used to have a feature on the website that had all the land development developments that were either in progress or in review. That feature was changed when the website was updated. I've been directed to put that back, but we are a very small office, so I'm getting to it.
I'm technology impaired, so it doesn't matter.
You can't pull up the website?
I try to pull up the website and some things will come in and some things won't. I have to get my kids to teach me, you know, that's all. I don't know all this. I mean, I tried to download some things and it won't download on my phone.
Yeah, if you're experiencing a problem with the website or if there's suggestions that you have, then please forward them, because, you know, it will benefit us if we know that you're not getting the information you need.
I mean, it'll say download, do you want to download PDF, file, PDF, whatever, and I hit yes, download, and it still remains blank. So I don't know, maybe I'll talk to you afterwards and
Maureen?
I have a question.
Yes.
And this might be premature, but as far as the Horton development is in potential on this road, they have certain criteria that they have to meet. If the criteria is waived, how does that get communicated? Like, do you waive it, or does the planning committee waive it?
The planning commission makes recommendations, but the board of supervisors makes the final determination on any plan approvals or any waivers of ordinance provisions.
And that would be discussed at a public meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Everything's discussed at a public meeting.
okay. That was my question.
And if you miss the meeting, go to YouTube and you can get caught up there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, there's no further comments. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you everyone for joining tonight.
Maybe we can get a Dunkin' Donut, get better police coverage.
Sounds like development.
My sister,